on Yud Aleph, left of page 37, Dine Chutei HaTzitzis, the strings. Now, Achutim tzorach sheyu tfuyin lishmon. The strings that are used for tzitzis, they have to be spun for the sake of the tzitzis. Hagovish afilu naftzon lishmon. Babidi lehokel b'niputs. Not niputs is the wool. When it's raw wool, they comb it. They comb it before they spin it, because there's certain impurities. That's the niputs. Lenafetz means it's to cleanse it, not washing. The cleansing is through the. It's like a combing process. So those are machmir that not only does the spinning have to be lishma, even the niputs. But he says the midig is to be mekel. Today you buy tzitzis. It's sold. They're very expensive tzitzis, the strings. It says not only is it spun, that's everybody agrees. If it's not spun lishma, it's not called tovid lishma or shazur. We'll see, that means twisted. We call it's kaful shmona. The string is an 8-ply string. So if you have the single string is spun for the sake of tzitzis, then you take 8 strings and they twist them. Each string is made up of 8 strings. It's an 8-ply string. That's called shizur, right? But the niputs, this precedes even the spinning of the single thread. That's the preparation of the wool for spinning. It's a chumrah. Sheyoma betchilas hativui. Before he begins spinning the thread, shu osel kain l'shem tzitzis. Right? The person says, "Arein mucham zumlan to what? To spin it, the wool for the thread for tzitzis." O sheyoma liisho. Although a woman's not obligated to tzitzis, a woman's still qualified to make the string, to spin the string, the thread, for tzitzis. He says to women, Tfili tzitzis l'talis. Spin for me tzitzis, the strings for a talis. If the string was not spun for the sake of the mitzvah of tzitzis, psulim, possible. It may look like the most muhuder, the most perfect and beautiful string, but unless it's infused with the lishmo, it has no. It's like writing a Sefer Torah. You know, Goy writes a Sefer Torah. He may be one of a kind of a scribe, a calligrapher. It's not valid, because it has to be written. First, he has to be qualified to write it, but or it has to be written. Certain things have to be written lishmo. Okay. Well, no. The chiddush is that even though the woman's not obligated, say maybe the only one's qualified to make the tzitzis. The person is obligated to wear tzitzis. The woman's not obligated. Mitzvah says she's mangrama. So if he says to a woman, make tzitzis for me, and she has in mind, she doesn't say lishma. She's making the tzitzis to be used, the strings to be used for a talis. That's sufficient.
But it's not a mitzvah to make the strings.
No, but they have to make. They
have to. The question is whether a woman could do something lishma, not whether she could.
No, we're saying that a woman, with women, you try to be as general, go someone Beis Yaakov, right? You speak more gently to a woman. You don't get into the details, please, spin some, I need some threads for a talis. And the woman has that in mind, that's enough. Although it's a very general type of mindset. She does not think the mitzvah tzitzis, the word mitzvah doesn't enter her mind. But she's making these strings specifically for a talis. That's enough. She doesn't have to have more than that. So also it's enough, but he's telling you, even if you say it in such a general manner and not specific mitzvah, having that in mind is sufficient. That's considered doing lishma. That's because she's not obligated to it. No, because it says ksharta b'chsafta. The Torah equates the tefillin and writing go hand in hand. That's based on the pasuk. By tzitzis, it's not based on anything. Right, correct. Also, that's separate. It's the same. That's the same thing with matzah. Matzah, right? Matzah is the lishmo. Shin matzah versus hand matzah. So there's tivui beyond. Yeah, you're right. Hand spun. They use a loom that's not electric. Now, of course, that adds to the cost of the string.
So each, okay.
It has the huge value in terms, in a certain way, it's more important than matzah, right? Because matzah, it's a one-time mitzvah. Tzitzis is ongoing. So let's say you're not able to do lishma if you use a machine. You're not able to do it, right? So if that's the case, all the tzitzis that you wear, as long as that you wear those tzitzis, you're not fulfilling the mitzvah. And it's a question of bracha levatol also. You never wear tzitzis. So if a person's machmir only to eat hand matzah, he definitely should be machmir to what? To have the tivu, the spinning should be hand done. It shouldn't be done with a machine. I mean, electricity, right? If it's a hand loom, it's not a problem because the person's directly involved. It's activating the system, and whatever happens for the next hour, 2 hours, all that's attributed to the first mindset. That's the whole discussion. Okay, listen, Mishabura. Hachutim, the strings. Loshen Rambam, hamotzi chutei tzitzis bashuk. A person finds strings, which seem to be strings that were made for tzitzis in the street, in the market. Afilu psukim shum, even if they're cut to size and they're twisted. Shows means twisted. The 8-ply or 4-ply. Psulim. Why? The Torah chenish lasos chutim kein tzitzis. People, they make these kinds of strings which resemble tzitzis, but they're not made for tzitzis. Vim kein shemad or nas l'shem tzitzis. So there's a chance that these strings, although they appear to be strings that were made for tzitzis, they may not be. But Magdisha cholek. Magdisha, the commentary on the Rambam, argues, the Rambam himself, he retracted. Although this is the way he ruled, he retracted. But the Vilna Gaon, in his commentary on Shulchan Aruch, writes, the final word is, as the Rambam writes, the Yad Chazaka, that it's possible. That you can't assume, because it seems to be made for tzitzis, that it was made for tzitzis. It's been made for some other reason. It's made for some other reasons. Lacking in the lishma, it's not valid.
So if you find tzitzis, and they look exactly like this, they're rolled right, there's this, everything.
No, we're not talking about attached to the garment.
Sorry?
We're talking, you found the strings. The strings by themselves.
Right, so the strings by themselves look like they're ready to go. Perfect tzitzis. You can't use that.
According to the Rambam, can't use it.
Even though there's no, it doesn't look like anything else. It looks like tzitzis.
So he says, because people, things could have changed. Like somebody just mentioned, there's this poncho that they're selling at one of these stores. It looks like it has tzitzis on it. Or it has strings which resemble tzitzis. That's his style. Evidently, it's not so simple. It's a rove. He says the Torah chinish lasos chut and kein tzitzis. It's not. Evidently, it's not a meat. You would go with the rove. You'd go with the rove if it's a minority. Tu lishman vu dvar Torah. That has to be spun lishma. It's a Torah law. Dichsev gedilim taseloch. L'shem chovach taseloch. It should be made for you. Gedilim what tzitzis should be made for you. So tzitzis doesn't only mean tied into the garment, because seemingly attach tzitzis to the garment. So that's after you have the strings to attach them. Gedilim Tasloch, he says, indicates that initially, whatever entails tzitzis, making tzitzis, that has to be done lishma. So if that's the case, you shouldn't go back to niputz, right? Cleansing the wool, cleaning the wool, that it should be in a position to be spun, right? That's the question. How far back do I go? Is that pre-spinning? It has no relevance. Spinning is the first relevance that it has to because that's a string. Before that, it's not a string. It's just raw wool. It's only spinning onward. The Maral argues with the Ramah. The Ramah says the midig is not to be made. The Maral says even though that may be the case, it's really preferable you should be machmir, even regarding niputs. That's cleaning the wool, the raw wool, in preparation for spinning. That itself should also be done lishma. No, the gedil, you have to have, you need more than one. You need a multiplied string. So that goes into gedil tasel. Shiyoma befeirush, the mechaber says he should say, initially I'm making these strings, I'm spinning them for tzitzis. So again, befeirush, lo b'machshav alma. It's not enough to think it, you should say it. Verbalize it. V'afil b'di'evet tzarchio nimhani machshava. Mishmur says even post facto, if a person just thought it, did not verbalize it, it's not simple that it's valid. Ein sim lambei sif ches v'yutes b'chul shel Reb Kiva ego sham. We'll have to see. And when you consecrate something, right? You say stoma l'shmo, by a korban. The Kohen, he should think, well, what's the difference? No. An animal, once it's consecrated, it is what it is. Tzitzis, unless you infuse it with that intent, it's not what it is. Right? That's the difference. The Kohen, he doesn't know, is it a shlomim, is it an ova? He doesn't know what it is. He has in mind, whatever it is, let it be. Because there, at the time of the consecration, it assumed the classification, whatever it was meant to assume, whoever consecrated it. But here, if you have wool, and you don't infuse it with the intent, it's being made for tzitzis, it's ordinary wool, that's all it is. So therefore, it's not enough just to think it. You have to designate it. Designation is verbal designation.
So what if I found these tzitzis on the street, and I found them in borough parks compared to Old Island, Jersey? So why can't you apply the same principles sort of empty time?
I mean, row. Maybe you would today. Today you don't find such thing. In the old days, people made strings for many reasons. No, it's been, you find the package understood, you find in the package.
I'm saying now they come, you're not going to find them coming out of the
I'll tell you, today it's not so simple. Not so simple. Today, bookstores, they have tzitzis. You don't know the origin of those strings, especially children's tzitzis. First it's definitely made by machine. A child's tzitz is made by machine. How long will it take? The strings. The garment means, the beggar means nothing. It's irrelevant. Don't make the strings. So if they will make, it would cost a child's tzitzis. You pay $4, $5 maximum for a child's tzitzis. So if you'd have that, it would be so labor intensive. You'd have to do it, everything handmade. Cost a fortune. So first, what's the quality of that? And what about who tied those tzitzis on that garment? No. First, they have to know, was it a religious Jew? Most of these things are made in Israel. They got people who are not even observant Jews. It's cheap labor. They'll pay them whatever is a few shekel an hour, and shkolim, they make the tzitzis. So who even knows what the person's mindset was? And even if you have a talus godel, who's the person making the tzitzis? I remember many years ago on the Lower East Side, there was a talus manufacturing company. And I always make my own tzitzis. Never rely on anybody else. And I go in there to buy the talus, and I had the tzitzis I bought somewhere else. And I see the person making the tzitzis there. He's there making tzitzis, putting tzitzis. What kind of character this guy is? The person himself looked like he didn't walk a straight line, that's number one. And while he was making the tzitzis, he was smoking, and he was in the middle of a conversation. You're supposed to think, l'shem tzitzis. This was the farthest thing from his mind. He was paying him per talus. He paid him so much per talus that he put on the tzitzis. So is this something really reliable? And most of the people who put the tzitzis on, it's these kinds of people. So you find a talus and this and that. The question is, talus in the shul talus. Unless you know that it was made by a certain type of person, you don't know.
Why is the talus say items? I did this not too long ago. It comes with a certification. And the certification says it was done in Hadron, and so on and so forth. So it's like star K or OU. You have to
Right.
rely on these things.
You're right, 100%. I'm not saying. Is it what we would call the optimum level? What do you mean? Unless you know who made them, you don't know who made them. It's not optimum. Many years ago, they had mezuzahs from Eretz Yisrael. You know, Yemenites are very autistic. A woman, as we said before, is not qualified to ride a mezuzah. Or children, a minor, is not qualified. So you have to have an obligation to wear tefillin. So a minor is not obligated with tefillin. A woman's not obligated with tefillin. Because it says, "Ukshartum uchsavtum." Ukshartum uchsavtum. Who could write? Only the one who has an obligation to put on tefillin. So they imported to the United States under the Hersha of the Rabbanut thousands of these small little parchments. And then they found out later that, you know, the mezuzah so-called manufacturer, he commissions it out to somebody to take care of it. He had 20 women, and they write very quickly. They're very, you know, very autistic, very agile, quickly. They were knocking out 5 mezuzahs an hour. You know what that is? Sell mezuzah for $20 in those years. $20. That's $100. And what does it cost them? It cost them nothing. They paid them nothing. They had to recall all the mezuzahs. It had a hechsher from the Rabbanut, everything else. You never know. You see, whenever you have, let's say, star K on a food item, it's a lot easier. Because either it's kosher or not. It's not detailed oriented. If the product's kosher, it's kosher, whether you prepare 5 tons of it or a pound of it. It's the process. No, but it's the process. It's the process. It's the process. Especially machine matzah. Machine matzah is the process. Once you get the process right, if it's right, it's right all the way through the process. It's hand baked. It's not simple. There you really have to be on top of the people. And if you're not on top of the people, you could have really serious problems. It was a distraction. Not only that, in terms of keeping the nails clean. See, today we have disposable gloves. So you could use the glove and throw the glove away. But at one time, you know, you do it with your hands. What happens in the cuticles? No, it becomes chametz. And, you know, after a while, your hands become raw. You have to really, you can't use hot water to wash it away. Hot water, that expedites the chametz process because there's heat. So it wasn't simple. And the women were not observant women. They had Russians and, you know, non-religious women who would be working, you know, who would be kneading the dough. Problems. In a real mahadrin matzah, will not find women kneading. You'll have chasidim, men doing the kneading, not women. Women won't be doing the kneading. Okay, to be continued.